Hi, my name is Joe Albanese, and I've been asked by the Land Use Committee to put together a video presentation to discuss the proposed plan to improve and enhance our sports park. In this video, I'll give you a brief history of the sports park, a comprehensive look of what is in the plan, how much it will cost, and how it would be paid for. All of this will be presented as factually and objectively as possible, but I will conclude the video with some arguments as to why the Land Use Committee recommends a vote of yes on the special assessment. I hope you will find the video informative. So let's get started. I think it might be helpful if we briefly take a look at the history of the sports park. Our declaration specifies 3 recreational areas within Valencia Isles: the main clubhouse, the health club, and the sports park. Here's an aerial photo of the sports park in 2005. And as you can see, when Valencia Isles opened, the sports park had 2 tennis courts, a shuffleboard court, and a basketball half court. You'll notice that there weren't any pickleball courts, as pickleball was just in its infancy, and it really wasn't on anyone's radar. But by 2013, there were a handful of residents that had heard about this new sport that seniors were flocking to from reports such as this.
We have 100,000 players around the country. They say it's the fastest growing sport in America. I can believe it.
So they took matters into their own hands and bought a portable net and marked pickleball lines on the basketball half court using a masking tape. Let's hear from Linda Swagman, one of the founding members of the VI Pickleball Club, what it was like back then.
Well, I've been playing pickleball since its inception at Valencia Isles. I was one of the original players, starting with a portable net, down on my hands and knees, putting lines with masking tape, and slowly, one by one, we got more people out on the courts, and it's just so much fun. We have a great group of people. It's very competitive. If you want it to be competitive, I am a tennis player, and I actually enjoy pickleball at this point more than tennis. I feel I get a better workout. It's been great for our community. It's brought our community together, and hopefully I'll be playing for a very long time.
We also want to note that the surface we were playing on in 2013 was made of these interlocking PVC tiles. Very, very slippery when wet. Even a little morning dew made playing on this surface treacherous. So as demand for pickleball grew in our community, the Pickleball Club initiated a proposal to construct 2 proper pickleball courts at the sports club. And in July of 2014, the project was approved and construction commenced soon afterwards. And on October 14, 2014, Valencia Isles held the grand opening ceremonies to our new facilities at the sports park, which received quite a bit of local news coverage, such as this interview of Fred Markowitz, who was so instrumental in getting the project approved and in growing the Pickleball Club to what it is today.
Pickleball is perfect for retirement communities. Pickleball is made up of 3 different games, they say: ping pong, tennis, and badminton. We just absolutely love the game here. People have started out not playing pickleball, and then they just become addicted to it. We have 2 new courts here, and we have that because of the efforts of many, many, many people in the community who really work together, pull together to make this day what it is and to make the courts what they are. People are really pulling together to enjoy this game. I'm watching them on the other court as I speak right now playing, and we all are terribly, terribly content, terribly, terribly happy with being able to play the game of pickleball and keep exercising and keep as healthy as we possibly can.
Well, that was 8 years ago, and a lot has happened in the last 8 years. And while pickleball was a fast-growing sport in 2014, since then it has literally exploded. Statistics have shown that the number of pickleball players has doubled since 2014, and there are currently 5 million Americans that play it regularly. Every major magazine and newspaper has done articles on the pickleball phenomena. And what is interesting is that much of the growth in popularity wasn't confined to seniors, but rather recreational athletes of all ages seem to be flocking to the sport. Another change from 2014 is that there is now a very robust Palm Beach Pickleball League that Valencia Isles competes in. This inter-community play allows us to go to many other communities and see their pickleball facilities. It also means that these other communities come to Valencia Isles. It is clear from these visits that Valencia Isles suffers by comparison. Our courts are in very bad shape and beyond the ability to be just patched. There are some communities that have threatened to not play at Valencia Isles because of the condition of our courts. Oh, and congratulations to our VI pickleball team that finished in second place in their division this spring. So that brings us to the third quarter of 2020 when the board formed the Ad Hoc Land Use Committee and tasked them with reviewing Valencia Isles amenities and to engage with an appropriate land use design firm to come up with a plan for updating and enhancing our recreational amenities. As part of their process, a SurveyMonkey questionnaire was sent out to residents to solicit their input on the amenities that they were most interested in. An RFP, request for proposal with our specifications, was put together and sent to firms with expertise in planning and designing recreational facilities. Ultimately, the design firm WGI was selected and asked to provide a design plan for Valencia Isles. And on January 17th, that plan was presented at a community meeting. And as a result of some of the feedback they received, the plan was revised, and then on May 16th to add a fifth pickleball court in lieu of the half-court handball court. On April 27th, the board passed a motion to have our attorneys draw up the necessary paperwork to prepare for a community vote on a special assessment for the sports park enhancement proposal, which will be conducted in the very near future. So that brings us up to date. Now let's take a closer look at the proposed plan for the sports park. Okay, here is a sketch of the design plan that WGI came up with for the sports park, and we'll discuss each component in detail in just a couple of minutes. But first, I want to discuss the current state of affairs at the sports park. The two tennis courts you see here, courts 8 and 9, have been closed since December of 2020 and have not been used since. Our other 7 courts at the clubhouse are more than adequate to meet the needs of our tennis-playing residents. So this whole chunk of prime real estate is going unused. Now here's where the putting green was, but when that fell into disrepair, it was removed in 2018. This is what that area looks like now. Let's move over to this area, which for many years had a tot lot. Unfortunately, that also fell into disrepair and was removed in 2018. So what we have left are the 2 pickleball courts, which, as I mentioned earlier, are in horrible shape, and the shuffleboard courts. So as you can see, more than half of the area set aside for recreational purposes at the sports park is currently unavailable to our residents. This would seem to be an unacceptable situation that has to be addressed. So now let's take a look and see how the WGI design maximizes the space available at the sports park once again. Let's start with the area occupied by the unused tennis courts. As you can see, the design calls for the construction of 4 new pickleball courts. It should also be noted that the courts will be oriented properly in the north-south direction rather than in the east-west direction they are positioned currently. No more sun directly in the eyes of players. You'll also notice 2 bocce ball courts. Bocce will be a brand new amenity here in Valencia Isles and was one of the new amenities most requested by residents in the SurveyMonkey. So let's talk a little bit about bocce before we move on. Well, bocce ball has been around for a long, long time. It is said they played a version of bocce ball in Egypt in 5000 BC, and it was a popular activity during the Roman Empire. It's strange, but this old sport has grown tremendously in recent years, and for good reason. Bocce ball can be played by 2 single players pitted against one another, or by 2 teams with 2, 3, or 4 players each. It is also a great family game that can be enjoyed by all ages from 9 to 90. And while anyone can enjoy the game as a beginner, There is sufficient strategy in bocce ball to challenge those with more advanced skills. I believe bocce ball would be a great and popular addition here at Valencia Isles. It should also be mentioned that both the pickleball courts and the bocce ball courts will each have shaded bleacher-type seating to accommodate 30 spectators and/or players. Okay, so let's move on to the space formerly occupied by the putting green. The plan calls for one additional pickleball court to be constructed here for a total of 5 courts. As you recall, one of Valencia Isles' original amenities was a basketball half court in this area. Unfortunately, that half court was pretty much taken over by a pickleball court, but the WGI's plan calls for restoring a basketball half court, and it will have exclusive use of this space. Basketball gets a lot of activity, especially during the holiday weeks when family members visit, and it'll be great to have a proper basketball half court once again. The space occupied by the former tot lot, the second pickleball court, and the existing parking lot got a major redesign to create a much larger parking lot with double the number of parking spaces, going from 17 to 34 spots. Parking has always been inadequate at the sports park. With just pickleball and shuffleboard players, a lot would often fill up, and when we had visitors from other communities to play tournament games, cars were forced to park all along Valencia Isles Boulevard, creating a hazardous situation. So increasing parking was a major need that the design plan skillfully addressed. Another welcome design feature would be the addition of lights. The courts throughout the sports park will be lighted for night play. This will extend the usefulness of the sports park for evening play during those hot summer months and for those short winter days. Design also calls for additional landscaping to improve aesthetics and to provide for increased privacy and sound mitigation for nearby homeowners. The shuffleboard courts and the sports park building are the only features that will be untouched by the design plan and will remain as they are. Well, that's WGI's design plan for our sports park. It utilizes every square yard to provide varied recreational opportunities for our residents. 5 brand new pickleball courts, 2 brand new bocce ball courts, a basketball half court, shuffleboard courts, night lighting, landscaping, and an expanded parking lot to accommodate all those using the facility. A facility that all Valencia Isles residents will be proud of as opposed to what we have now. Okay, well, right about now, I assume everyone is asking, how much is this all going to cost? So let's take a look at the numbers. Let's first all recall that WGI is a landscape architectural firm. They do not do any actual construction. They have, however, given us their estimate of what the project should cost. Their estimate came to $562,000. And here are some important statements from WGI that accompany that projection. The estimate was prepared by a registered landscape architect licensed to practice in the state of Florida and is hereby certified as our professional opinion of probable costs. The opinion of probable construction costs provided are made based on experience and represent our best judgment as landscape architects familiar with the construction industry. The firm cannot and does not guarantee that proposals, bids, or the construction cost will not vary from our opinions of probable costs. The Land Use Committee wisely added a significant buffer, nearly 25%, to that estimate to ensure adequate funding and to cover inflation and any other unanticipated cost. That would bring the projected cost with the added buffer to $700,000. Now, of course, many of the components that would be replaced if the proposal is approved have already been accounted for in our reserve fund. And just a quick reminder that the reserve fund is essentially a savings account set aside to meet future financial obligations for repairing, upgrading, and or replacing association assets. We just recently had a comprehensive reserve study completed to examine our property and to determine the remaining useful life of all of our assets and what the projected cost would be to replace that item. For example, here is just one item, the sports park canopy frames. As you can see, the report details the normal useful life of the item, along with how many remaining years we could expect to get from that asset before it has to be replaced. The report also lists the low and high estimates to replace that item at the time it will need to be replaced. Such an analysis is done for all of Valencia's assets. This allows us to anticipate future costs and to save adequate funds to cover those expenses. As you know, every month part of your maintenance fee goes into the reserve fund. So our Finance Committee examined the fund and determined that $92,900 had already been set aside for components in the sports park that will be replaced if the project is approved. The Land Use Committee has recommended that $82,000 of that amount would be applied to the project, reducing the amount needed to be raised through a special assessment to $618,540, which, if divided by 793 homes, comes to $780 per owner. That $780 could be paid in one lump sum, or it could be spread out over 4 equal quarterly payments of $200 each, which includes the $20 service fee for installment payments. And that's what you're going to be asked to vote on in the very near future. The board has approved having our attorneys prepare the paperwork for a community vote on a special assessment for the conversion of the sports park based on the plan presented to the community. And as a reminder, any special assessment requires that 2/3 of those members that vote to vote in the affirmative. Stay tuned for further announcements on when that vote will be held. Okay, well, up until this point, I've given you a little bit of the history and current status of the sports park. We went over the proposed plan, the expected costs, and how it would be paid for. Now comes the tough part: to convince you to vote yes and to cough up $780. I know it's a tough ask in uncertain economic times, but I hope by the end of this presentation that you will come to the same conclusion that the Land Use Committee has come to, and that is voting yes would be in all of our best interest. First off, let's just discuss how great the new sports park will be for our residents. It will double the number of sports offered to our residents. Currently, we just have shuffleboard and pickleball, but with completion of the plan, we will bring back a proper, dedicated basketball half court and a great new activity, bocce ball. Bocce ball is another one of those sports that is growing rapidly in popularity with seniors and is featured in most new 55-plus communities. I have no doubt that bocce ball will be a very popular activity here at Valencia's, and I imagine it will take off much like pickleball did when we built those 2 courts 8 years ago. And speaking of pickleball, the number of residents playing regular has grown tremendously over those last 8 years, and having 5 courts to play on would both recognize and accommodate that growth. Another great feature of the proposed plan is the lighting that will be installed, so that whether you are looking to play pickleball, bocce ball, shuffleboard, or basketball, you will now be able to play in the cool of the evening and under the lights. Oh, and one more feature that I love is the inclusion of bleacher seating. When we have other communities over to Valencia's to play in a pickleball league, for example, there is often insufficient seating to accommodate our residents and visitors that came to enjoy watching as spectators. Having seating for everyone would be a great addition. And not only will everyone have a seat, but everyone will also have a parking space. A major shortcoming of the sports park currently is the limited parking that forces residents to park on Valencia's Boulevard, creating a hazardous condition. The proposed plan doubles the parking capacity at the park. It is clear that the proposed plan would be a substantial enhancement to the amenities available to residents of Valencia's. Well, some might ask, what if I never use the sports park? Why should I pay to have it upgraded? It's an understandable argument. Let me see if I can give you some reasons why, even if you never plan to pick up a bocce ball, that you should still support the special assessment and the proposed sports park plan. We're a 20-year-old community. 20-year-old communities have challenges, no doubt. But if we meet those challenges, Valencia's can compare with the best of communities. Remember, we have a lot of things going for us. Our mature landscaping and natural beauty that surrounds us never fails to impress me. And with the renovations to our clubhouse and health club, I can say that our facilities are equally impressive. All of our facilities, that is, with the exception of the sports park. One of these images suggests a community that is showing its age and not keeping up with the times. And the other image shows an older community that knows how to evolve and meet the needs of its residents, present and future. You know that 20 years ago, when Valencia Isles was built, tennis was the sport that ruled, and most new homeowners were looking for a great tennis facility in their community that they were looking to live in. Responding to that demand, GL Homes built 9 tennis courts here at Valencia Isles, and a similar number of courts in all of their developments. But over time, the sporting interest of our demographic group has changed. And while tennis is still a great and popular sport, many residents and prospective residents are now looking for a pickleball facility in their community like they once did for tennis. How do I know this? Well, I went to the website of GL Homes. I think we could all pretty much agree that nobody knows this demographic and market better than GL Homes. So I wanted to see what GL's newest homes had in the way of sporting amenities, and I was really blown away. It seems that GL Homes has decided that pickleball is and will be a very important amenity. Let's take a look at some of their new properties. Here's Valencia Sound right here in Boynton Beach. As you can see, they're building 11 pickleball courts. Valencia Grand, also in Boynton, and another one of GL's new homes, not to be outdone, also has 11 courts, but they did one better, with 4 of the courts being indoors in air conditioning. All of GL Homes properties have significant number of pickleball courts, which they feature prominently in their marketing. Some of these facilities have truly eye-opening racket clubs. But it's not only the new developments. Many older communities like ours have added pickleball courts, often by converting 1 or 2 tennis courts to pickleball, like we are proposing to do. Most of the nearby communities that I checked have from 4 to 6 courts. Valencia Isles with 2 courts is the anomaly. So the sports park plan is not something that just benefits those that play one of the 4 sports, but rather all homeowners in protecting our home values. There are lots of 55-plus communities to choose from, and many of the homes are of near-identical construction, so it is a community's amenities that prospective homeowners look at when deciding where to live. So how does Valencia Isles stack up? Well, we have a great clubhouse, very impressive, a great bistro, great pool areas, an excellent gym, beautiful landscaping. So there's no doubt in my mind that the value of our homes will greatly benefit if we bring the sports park up to those same standards. So to end this where we started this section, these are our uncertain economic times. Now we've taken a few hits in the last few years because of issues with the trusses, the renovation, lawsuits. I get it. But I think that's all the more reason why we should put in this small investment of $780 to protect the value of what we have already accomplished. Oh, and for those wondering, the construction of this project would in no way financially burden our association, that is being paid for by the residents. $780 for a facility that will be around for the next decade serving our residents. That comes down to $80 a year if you want to break it down that way. So I've tried to give you all the information and facts about the sports park proposal and the special assessment that will help you decide how to vote on this important issue. I hope that I've convinced you that the $780 should be looked at as an investment in Valencia Isles and one with immediate and long-term rewards. A beautiful modern sports facility that will meet the desires of present and future residents. But whether you agree with me or not, please make sure to vote. Valencia Isles is self-governed, which means that we all have a stake and an obligation in the decisions that shape the future of our community. Thank you for your time.